Super cool. Ruger American 22-inch in 350 Legend. Literally just picked this up and got it out of the box. What we're going to do today is I will show you what I'm up to when I get this out of the box. Adjusting the trigger, disassembly, cleaning up and lubing the bolt for the first time, stuff like that. We're not going to get any shooting done yet because there's no ammo to be found. I just ordered some, it's on the way. So when ammo gets here, we're going to do some shooting. But for now, we're doing setup out of the box. Let's go. All right, when you open the box for the Ruger American 350 Legend, you're going to find these three things. The bolt, the magazine, and the rifle itself. So you're going to have to start by putting the bolt in the rifle. But before we even do that, I have a proposition. Let's take the bolt apart just a little bit, very simply. We're going to check a couple parts and lube a couple parts. Let's do that. So, take the bolt, and you're going to look on the underside of the bolt for the center line where the bolt handle passes through. And you want to grab the whole rear bolt shroud and rotate it until it lines up with the center of this handle. Now, we should be able to anyways, pull the bolt shroud off the back end just like that to reveal the tail end of the bolt. And there's some faces here that are mating surfaces between the firing pin and the cam and the bolt itself. So I'm going to put a little bit of lube right in here. Hopefully you guys can see that. So we're going to grab a little Hops number 9. I might go a little crazy here. I'm going to try really hard not to dump an entire drop there. Did I even get any? There we go. Get some up in there. Get some over on this side. Okay, that should be more than enough. Probably going to be excessive, but we'll clean it up later. Slide the shroud back on. Rotate it until it falls back in. And now we're ready to go. The next thing that you could probably do is take a little gun oil, put it on your rag, and work the surfaces of the lugs. Actually, really just work the entire surface of the bolt. Don't want to go too crazy, but we'll just give the bolt a little once over. Okay, sweet. There we go. I should mention at this point that I didn't pull all this information out of my ass. You can, in fact, use the manual that came with the rifle. It has some pretty good illustrations. There we go, there's some of them. So if you're confused, the manual is helpful. All right, next step involves an Allen wrench of the 3/16 variety. And we're going to, at least I'm going to, you don't have to, but this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to get to the action screws here and here, and I'm going to unscrew those action screws and take the action and the barrel off of the stock, and the mag well is going to drop out at the same time. So in order to do this, we kind of don't want to have it free hanging. We'll support it on something, and then we're going to get in here with the Allen. There we go. Start loosening up both screws. There she comes. All right, I'll skip to the next part. All right, screw's loose. This screw's pretty much fallen out, so we'll set that aside. The mag well will come out next, and then the stock will come off. We'll set that aside, and now we have just the barreled action here. Ta-da! So what are we gonna do with it? Let's check it out. 3/32 Allen wrench. I should move this stuff out of the way. Move that out of the way. Move that out of the way. With this Allen wrench, we can adjust the trigger. Again, this info is in the manual. Right here at the front of the trigger is a screw. So the barrel's facing that way. The trigger pulls back that way, so you're oriented. The safety's back here. And then under the mag well, or in front of the mag well, is a screw down here. If we screw it in, it makes the trigger pull stronger or harder. If we screw it out, it loosens up the trigger pull and makes the trigger pull lighter. Ruger suggests doing a half of a turn at a time, and it is red thread locked. So it's not easy. There we go, I'll move my hand out of the way. It's not easy. I already adjusted this once, so I'm just going to turn it off about a quarter. Boom. Try turning it a half of a turn, reassemble the gun, check the trigger pull, either use a trigger pull gauge or just see if it feels like the way you want it to feel like. If you unscrew this too far so that it starts protruding off the front of the housing, it'll actually get in the way of the stock and magwell reassembly and it won't go back together. So if you mess with this and the stock doesn't want to go back on, it's probably because you unscrewed this too far. Probably goes without saying, don't unscrew it so far that it falls out. And don't over tighten it because you'll bind the trigger. So I'm going to reassemble this. I like the way the trigger pulls. I just wanted to show you how to disassemble it. At this point, while you're in here, if you wanted to, you could lubricate anything that you feel needs lubricating. One thing I might suggest lubricating, now that you have a good vantage point, is to get in here and try to get a little bit of lubrication on the lugs if you want to, but that's just me. Some people don't like to lubricate the lugs because you get a lot of carbon buildup in there or whatever, so it's kind of up to you, whatever you feel like you want to do. Alright, reassembly goes almost exactly the same way. So I'm going to take the barreled action and pay attention to where the trigger is. Kind of try to get that back up into the trigger housing. You can see it coming through there. There we go. And it's seated on there pretty good. You just use the pick rail down here as sort of a level surface. It's not the greatest, but it works. And then the mag well. Both screws are in the mag well right now. So you can just kind of take that mag well. Also, by the way, it uses an AR style mag release here and an AR style mag catch on the other side. So if you really wanted to at this point, you could probably unscrew this by backing it out on this side and replace it with a different one if you wanted different colors, or if you wanted your favorite AR style mag catch here. You could probably do that if you wanted to. It might be kind of fun. I don't know. And we're going to take the big Allen wrench and we're going to start the action screws back down in. You could add some thread locker on here if you wanted to, if you were worried about things backing up or loosening. As long as you torque them down good, shouldn't have a problem. You should probably look up the torque specs for the screws and use a torque wrench to make sure you get the right settings. But true to my style, I'm not going to do that because I'm dumb. You should, though. Don't do what I'm doing and be dumb. If you over tighten things, you can break or bind things. If you under tighten them, they're going to walk out on you. So then, obviously, you're going to want to do some final tightening here. And I will do that to the tune of, hey, that feels about right. Hey, that feels about right. Perfect. Okay, last step is to put it all together. All right, so now we're going to take the bolt and we're going to insert it into the action. So you're just going to want to come in from behind. Bolt handle, pay attention to where it meets the bolt and where that slot is on the receiver. Slide it in there, cam it down, put it on fire, make sure there's nothing in the chamber. Obviously, we just put this together, so. And then, test your trigger, run the bolt, test the trigger. Okay, seems to function just fine. Only other thing I want everybody to know is that on the Rugers here, this is your bolt release. So bring the bolt about halfway back, simultaneously push down on this tab, and the bolt will come right out. To put it in, you don't need to push on the tab. All you got to do is just slide it, and it'll catch. It catches itself. Push, release, slide it in, now it's caught. Sweet. There it is. I need to get my scope mounted up. This is a Sightmark Core TX 3-12 by 44 that I just happen to have laying around. It's actually a BDC reticle for 223/308. Has nothing to do with 350 Legend, but does have an adjustable turret, so we're going to use it, and I don't want to buy a different friggin' scope, so it's just going to get put on there for now. So I'm going to mount the scope rings up here. When you put scope rings on, there's a few things to keep in mind, and I encourage you to go watch a video dedicated to scope mounting, but what you want to do is set the scope rings so they're pushed to the front of the pick rail. See how there's slop here? When the gun goes off, because of inertia, the scope rings want to stay still and the gun wants to go backwards. So that means that the scope's going to slowly, over time, it's going to get pushed to the front, like that. Actually, the gun's going to get pushed to the back and the scope's going to stay where it's at. But so you want to kind of force these to the front while also locking them down. Okay, there's one. You want to bring it to the front. Hold it there, tighten it down, and I'm going to crank those on real good. And then I'll get the scope mounted up. I just wanted to share that with you. All right, got the scope on. Again, go check out some other videos on how to set up a scope. I'm skipping a few things that I'm not telling you. But I want to get the scope square to the action. So what we're going to do now is use this square, which has two pieces, one that goes on the pick rail and one that goes up here and wedges in to square up the scope. What I kind of do is look at the bottom and kind of wiggle and rotate as I'm pushing this triangle piece. I'm just putting a little pressure on it and wiggling the scope back and forth until it sits nice and square, and I can visually see down here no more light coming from under the square. So now we're going to go around and carefully tighten up each screw. There we go. And then I'll recheck down here. Nice and square under there. There it comes. And there it comes. So here's the two pieces. This wedge goes up under here and slides in, keeping the top surface totally square to the bottom plane while also adjusting for any spacing. So now it's square. I know it's square. It's mounted nice and solid. I'm going to get those screws tightened down and we should be ready to go put a few rounds through it. If anyone ever watches this video and wonders what that tool is, there's different versions of it out there, but this is the Tough Tactical Tools scope leveler combo, and I bought it on Amazon. I'll throw a link down in the description. Seems pretty good. I mean, I didn't check it with a machinist square for run out or whatever, but it's pretty square for all intents and purposes, and it works great for me, so hopefully it'll work good for somebody else. Alright, hopefully that gave somebody out there some helpful tips, and you know, at the very least I got my trigger lightened up a little bit. I may still tinker with it and get it adjusted, and I got my bolt lubed out of the box and checked all my screws. So hey, that was helpful for me no matter what. Scope is mounted and ready, waiting for ammo to come in, and then I gotta shoot it all so I can get the brass. Then I can try reloading the brass, but that's for another time. Stay tuned if you want to see some. I mean, my goal is to try to push this thing as far as I can. I'm going to use the chrono and get some bullet speeds, see how far I can get with my load development, test a few different bullets, and my goal is to get 250 to 300 yards with 1,000 pounds of force, and try to get a good consistent sub-1 MOA grouping out of this gun with a hunting bullet for 200 to 300 yards. But we'll see if I can even get there. I don't know. It's going to be crazy, and we're going to have a good time, but I'll make some more videos about it as we go. I'm also really excited to put some 9mm bullets in here, because it happens to be the same size. 9mm pistol bullets, and shoot the steel targets from close with a bolt gun. I mean, like John Wick the steel targets. Anyways, deuces.